Hi again then guys, and welcome to our very first car review from GT Sport 1.50, and I'm gratuitously starting off with my favourite car of the update, the Ruf Ctr3, a car which of course was rumoured months ago. I featured it on the channel, speculated that it could be coming to the game because we'd seen some tiny little images in Polyphony HQ of a car that they were working on, a silver version, which is one of the more recognisable colours for this machine. So the question, as always, is, what can it do? Is it worth buying? Well, I would say definitely yes, because this car has a lot to offer. Now, one of the most impressive things I think about this car is that it's in the game at all. And I don't just mean the vehicle in question, I mean the brand, because with Porsche being so heavily involved in the game now, of course Ruf has been a part of the franchise and the series for so much longer, but to see loyalty to them, still featuring them, I think that's nice. It's nice on Polyphony's part that they've done that. And also, if you're going to bring back any Ruf model, I would say that this is not the obvious choice. The obvious choice would be a premium Yellowbird, and although they may still do that, I think this is one hell of a bang to bring back. You know, burst back onto the scene. If you're going to do that, do it with this. This is one hell of a car. Now, I have been hearing a little bit of pushback from some people in the community saying that this car is maybe a little bit too difficult to drive or not quite as quick or as good as they were hoping it would be. I would say that that's not the car's fault by any stretch. It's a challenge to drive, of course, compared to many other supercars, especially all-wheel drive ones, but that's kind of the point. Most of the top-tier exotics, especially ones from smaller, more boutique manufacturers, they do require more skill. Ascari, Gumpert, Noble, these cars do require a more seasoned driving approach. You can't just jump in it and throw it around a corner like it's nothing. It's not like a GTR, it doesn't do all the work for you. But, in a very similar way to what Evo magazine said years ago about the Renault Clio V6, this is a car that if you put the effort in, it's rewarding. It does give a lot back to you. This car is so much more than what many people think it is. Many people understandably assume that, oh, it's probably just a 911 with a different roof, a chopped top, an air intake, and more power. That could not be further from the truth, actually. This is a ground-up supercar built by Ruf. It's mid-engine, not rear-engine, so that's a pretty huge difference straight off the bat. And it's much more of like a Carrera GT-level machine. But unlike the Carrera GT, this car is designed to be more of a straight-line machine. In real life, as I said, it's an over 230-mile-an-hour car. In the game, you can definitely do those speeds. But the only thing, actually, that kind of disappoints me about this car, and it really is the only thing because I love everything else, is that for some reason they've kind of neutered its upper-end tuning ability. You can't really increase the power that much. You can improve the slider a little bit, which jumps at just over 700 horsepower, and of course it stays in N700, but at the same time it deserves more than that. I mean, we can tune up a regular Porsche by quite a lot, so why wouldn't you do the same with this? It's not like this is an aftermarket tuner car where it's already been taken to the limit. Far from it. Porsche engines can be taken far further than this, so it's kind of an odd choice, almost like they didn't want the car to be too good, in a funny kind of way. But in terms of lower end ability, somewhat ironically, it's actually a deceptively good car because you can tune this monster down to N400, and although I haven't tried racing it at that level yet, I imagine it should be quite the contender. Now, in terms of that overall spec, you are looking at a Porsche-sourced 3.7 litre engine. You're running 690 horses stock. Even more impressive, I would say, 657 pound-feet of torque. And it's not heavy. It undercuts stuff like Lambos and most Ferraris even by quite a lot. Easily 150 kilos, if not more in some cases, at 1400 kilos. That's a good weight for this car to have. I believe, if memory serves, that's roughly 50 kilos more than a Gumpert Apollo, so it's pretty well placed, especially considering that this is not just a track car. It's designed to be an all-round supercar, something with the cornering and the straight-line speed, but also just the wow factor, the kind of car that you can drive through Monaco or show up an event at, and you're not rattled out of your skull because the suspension's so harsh. It's not a pure track machine, it's an overall exotic. Now, to speak to the primary issue, which many people seem to have had with this car when they first drove it in particular, a lot of people have said that they find it too challenging, that it's too slippery, too leery, that the handling is a little bit inconsistent. I could understand all of those qualms, but at the end of the day, you've got to remember this is not a car that's trying to baby you. It is a car that's mid-engine rear-wheel drive, and although it technically has downforce, as I said, it's not a pure track car. It does demand respect. And that's one of my favourite things about it. This is a car that demands respect, and if you give it that respect, it will reward you because it's seriously fast. Not only can you take on other supercars with it, for instance in this event I'm going up against N1000 cars, and this is still only N700, but at the same time, you can tune this thing to beat actual race cars. It can easily beat Group 4 cars and even take on Group 3s under the right circumstances, of course in a straight line, but even beyond that as well. Take it on the Nordschleife, Le Mans, Monza even, any kind of track where you can use most, if not all, of that sheer power in conjunction with the challenging but at the same time very professional approach that the handling has, you're going to get a lot of use out of this. And to top it all off, the price is great. 600 grand significantly undercuts many of the other supercars in the game, most recently the Aventador SV, it's what, 400 grand cheaper than that, something like that. The Huayra's like 600 grand, so like double the price. It's cheaper than the LaFerrari, cheaper than the Enzo. In fact, it's one of the most affordable supercars in the game, so it's a great deal as well. It's not actually that much more than some of Porsche's own models that are in the game. Some of those are like 200-300 grand anyway. So overall, this is, as I said, by far my favourite car of this update, and I would say that this is one of my favourite vehicles that we've had added to the game since release, because not only is it just a cool car, but it's what this car represents. This single car represents the Gran Turismo that I miss, and it's good to see this kind of flair back, because this is the kind of car that we need in a traditional Gran Turismo game. That kind of unexpected variety, cars that you cannot predict. That is what I love about Gran Turismo, and that's what I've always loved about Gran Turismo. I never expected to see a Bentley Speed 8 and a Chaparral 2J in Gran Turismo 4. I never expected to see a Lotus Elise GT1 or a Renault Espace F1 in Gran Turismo 2. Those are the kind of cars that burst onto the scene. Some of us already know about them. Me, when I was younger, I didn't. These are the cars that to me say Gran Turismo. And challenging or not, you kind of got to respect it for that. Now, being in GT Sport, you could argue, well, it's a racing game. It's about race cars, not road cars, so is it even really that necessary? And it's an understandable argument. It's an argument that I've even considered myself in the past and spoken about on the channel. But at the same time, we're getting closer to the next Gran Turismo game. Gran Turismo Sport is moving on through its life, time waits for no man and no game, so future-proofing the series is never a bad thing, especially when it's a top-tier machine like this one is. If this arrives in the next Gran Turismo game from day one, well, that ain't going to be a bad thing. A lot of these more traditional Gran Turismo cars, be it Camaro ZL1, Aventador SV, Ruf Ctr3, and a variety of others, that's the kind of future-proofing that I like to see. Unexpected cars that are very pleasing to the fans, and even if you're not an existing fan of the car, it's a vehicle which can win you over by how much sheer ability it has. It's not just another JDM car which appeals to such a specific audience, not that there's anything bad with that, it's just very expected for them to do. It's not another hot hatch or an iconic rally car of some kind that you'd expect to be in the game. We're talking about an ultra-rare exotic supercar that has hardly ever appeared in games. Test Drive Unlimited never had the car. Project Gotham never had the car. They had the original, the R50 concept version, but not this one. So overall, what I love about this car is not just what it can do or what it is, it's what it represents. This is the Gran Turismo that I love. So for me, I definitely love this vehicle. I understand the qualms that some people have had, but trust me, if you find it challenging, put the effort in. And for those who maybe want to tune for it, don't worry, I will be doing so probably sometime next week on the channel. But that's it overall for my thoughts. Of course, I'll see you guys next time, and for now, as always, thanks for watching.